Celebrities. They're just like us. Well, used to be just like us before they became famous, but anyway, we've managed to dig up some unique stories of celebrities who worked relatively regular jobs and unexpected jobs before they owned the red carpet. Who would you guess was an accountant before winning a Grammy? Would you believe us if we told you one of your favorite Marvel actors used to eat food off of other people's plates to get his meal in for the day? As always, we have the juiciest stories right at your fingertips. So sit back and enjoy. And don't forget to subscribe to the Rumor Juice channel and hit that notification bell so you can be the first one to check out our latest videos. John Legend. Sexy, talented, and smart? By far, John Legend is one of the most successful artists globally, having made history in 2018 as the first black man to achieve the coveted EGOT status, which means that he's won an Emmy, Golden Globe, Oscar, and a Tony. In fact, before John, there were only 12 people who have ever achieved this title. Legend's story is not one of overnight success, though. Still, it does include savvy and risky moves that allowed him to pursue his passion, including working a corporate job for years while hustling through countless rejections and working music on the side. Although it was the last place he wanted to be, but he was living in New York. Rent was expensive, and he knew he had to put food on the table somehow. After the All of Me singer graduated, he knew he needed a more practical job to get by. So he proceeded to work at the Boston Consulting Group as an accountant for 3 whole years. However, Legend could never stop thinking about his passion for music. So he decided he'd work with numbers during the day and perform at small gigs at night. Unfortunately, John's big break didn't come easily or quickly by any means. He always thought that his moment would be just around the corner. All the major labels rejected him, sometimes even more than once. However, Legend's breakthrough came when he contacted his college roommate, who introduced him to his cousin, a producer from Chicago you might know as Kanye West. Our collaboration has been a huge part of my career, and it had a lot to do with me finally getting a major recording contract in 2004. Kanye produced John's first album when Legend was just 26 years old. The album went on to score 3 of his now 10 Grammy Awards. Chris Pratt. Now, we've heard our fair share of waitressing horror stories and fast food nightmares, but Chris Pratt's story might top them all. A particular confession from the one and only Star-Lord has us wondering just how bad things got for him before he made it in Hollywood. Before he landed the role as Andy on Parks and Recreation, Chris Pratt worked at a Hollywood restaurant, while at the same time living in his van. Yeah, Chris lived in a van way before YouTube made van life cool. He captioned this iconic picture by saying, "Can't believe I found this picture. This is the van I lived in. In my hands is the script for the movie that got me out of Maui. Crazy." By his own admission, he was not the most upstanding waiter, admitting that he was probably one of the main reasons the restaurant was so terrible. As a broke wannabe actor, Chris would literally do anything to get by, like eating his customers' leftovers, which he got in trouble for time and time again. Chris was once so hungry that he advised a customer to order a giant 32-ounce porterhouse steak, hoping that he'd be able to eat the leftovers. Of course, there were plenty of pieces left that Chris naturally devoured on the way to the kitchen, but in a significant plot twist, the customer asked if she could have it to go. Chris had to improvise quickly and told her that he had, unfortunately, already thrown the steak in the trash. The customer wasn't too bothered, as she just wanted to give the leftovers to her dog. Chris had to force the chef to make another steak, but the customer left before it was ready. So, lucky Chris managed to bag another steak for the night, this time completely fresh and untouched by a customer. And as the universe would have it, it was during this time as a waiter that he got his big break into acting. He served Canadian actress Rae Dawn Chong, who sparked up a conversation, and she ended up getting him a role in her next movie. Brad Pitt. We're just gonna come right out and say it because we're not really sure how else to ease into it. But before Brad was an Oscar-winning actor, he was a driver. For strippers. Yeah, you heard that right. During the start of his career, he had to find a way to put food on the table, and it seems as though driving strippers around was better than being a mascot in a chicken suit for a restaurant, which he also did. Brad has previously revealed all the behind the scenes we wouldn't dare miss out on. The Hollywood actor had to pick up the girls and take them to specific parties, where he then had to watch the proceedings and catch the strippers' clothes as they threw them off to make sure people didn't steal them. I would do the driving, play the music, try and make the deal and get the strippers out with their clothes and safely. Pitt eventually had enough and tendered his resignation, but was persuaded to work one more night. On that final night, he met one of the new strippers and sparked up a conversation. That very stripper was dating Roy London, who was giving acting classes at the time, and Brad asked for his number. Roy London then went on to become Brad Pitt's acting coach. Steve Buscemi. We all know Steve Buscemi is either the bad guy we love to hate or the crazy-eyed cameo we love to laugh at. But just like most of the actors on our list, he first had to go through a few jobs that weren't all that glamorous before entering the life he was destined for. He lived with his family in a tiny apartment where he shared a room with his 3 brothers, while his parents slept on a fold-out bed. Growing up in such a stressful environment made Buscemi's sense of belonging turn into a sense of survival. So he had to put his dreams of becoming an actor to the side. To make both ends meet, he had to work as an ice cream truck driver, a house mover, and a gas station attendant. Not really your so-called Hollywood jobs. His father felt as though he needed direction and made him take the civil service exam to become a New York firefighter. Although Steve loved helping people, he knew his love for acting would always be more significant than his passion for firefighting. Steve was hit by a bus as a kid and was paid $6,000 in compensation from the city. Buscemi's father suggested that he use the compensation money to take acting classes, and so he did. And it wasn't long before he landed the lead in the Bill Sherwood film Parting Glances, and the rest is pretty much history. Cardi B. Here we have another celebrity making us all feel better about the times we lost our jobs. We're sure that everyone knows that Cardi B was a stripper before her rise to fame, but what many might not know is that she was actually first a full-time cashier at a market in the Big Apple. But knowing Cardi B, it's no surprise that this job just wasn't for her, and she ended up getting the boot. When she was fired, her manager told her that he thinks she'd be better suited for a specific line of work. He told Cardi that he believes she's gorgeous and has a perfect body and to think about working across the street at New York Dolls, the strip club. And that's the story of how Cardi B famously began stripping. So basically, it was Cardi getting fired from her job as a cashier that led to her stripping, which eventually led to her successful rap career. So we guess it was kind of fate for Cardi B, right?
As always, we are eager to see your opinion in the comment section below. And do tell us which topic we should cover next. Behind the scenes dramas of your favorite shows? Why did this seemingly perfect couple break up? How come this Hollywood hottie is still alone? Who holds the title of the most fan-friendly celebrity? Make your voice heard, and we at Rumor Juice will make sure you are never bored. Subscribe to our channel and don't forget to tell your friends how cool we are.